It's Tuesday, November 26, 2019. Digital Trends Live is about to start here. Some of the topics we'll cover today. Do you use Twitter and or Facebook to automatically log into third-party apps? Well, a malicious software development kit may have exposed your data. We'll give you the details. Leonard Kim, the co-author of Ditch the Act, revealed the surprising power of the real you for greater success. We'll be on the show to talk about brand marketing in the digital space. And our own John Velasco will also join today to talk about some new smart home gadget announcements, including the Amazon Dash Smart Shelf, which restocks office supplies. Plus, have you been considering giving to a charitable organization around the holidays? Well, Jonathan Beck is the founder and CEO of GiveList, and he'll join us to talk about their app, which helps you select the right nonprofit for you and donate directly to them. All of that and more coming up on Digital Trends Live. And there we are. Hello, this is Digital Trends Live. This is our daily show here from Digital Trends, bringing you the trending tech topics of the day, news, interviews, headlines, discussions, and so much more. We're broadcasting live from our Samsung QLED 4K studio. And since we are live, we're on a number of different platforms. We're on Periscope, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Dailymotion, Apple News, 2 different mobile apps, a smart television app, and at digitaltrends.com/live. So wherever you're finding us, you can join in the conversations that we get to have here on the show. You're a part of it. Let us know what you think. We'll read it no matter what it is. Let's continue on here, though. Today, get it started. I'm Greg Nibbler, joined by Riley Wynn. Hello, Riley.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. It's nice to have you here. Last time you were on the show, you were in LA, I believe.
I was.
Yes.
I was.
Yes.
Last week?
I don't know. I lose track of time. Yeah, it's very hard to figure that out.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, but you're here now. Let's talk about some trending tech topics. So there's a bunch of stuff going on, but since we have Black Friday coming up and Cyber Monday coming up, and Amazon's definitely a big part of that. Let's talk about the new revelation of an Alexa app that they have unveiled. This is something that we thought they were going to be doing, and we knew they were working on something with this, but it's an increasing mix of Alexa with pharmaceutical companies and medical technology. And what it basically is Alexa is now going to be able to manage your medications. It's kind of a big move.
It is. I think it's a bold move.
Yeah.
I think the application, in spirit, is very good. I don't know if I believe in the execution, if it will actually be private and safe, because medical information is such a sensitive topic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the way this generally works, and there's a couple of different features that are going to be rolling out with it, and starting off mainly with East Coast U.S. pharmaceutical companies, but it's going to have a tie-in to the Giant Eagle Pharmacy, so it's tying into that, and it's also going to be set up to where you can program it to give you alerts when you need to take your medication.
Yes.
So you can say, they even give examples here of things that you can say. They said customers can ask, Alexa, what medication am I supposed to take right now? Which is kind of a weird thing to be asking your smart home device.
Yes.
What kind of pill should I take?
I mean, I get it. Think of this. Think if you're an elderly person and you have a caregiver or a family member come in and they set out your pills for the week or whatever.
Yeah.
And you forget. I mean, that happens to elderly people, right? And so you can't be calling them all the time, or maybe they don't know what you've taken. You can ask this Alexa that is keeping track of it for you, which I think is a good idea.
Yeah, the management of that.
Yes, I think that's great, helping those who are a little forgetful, have some diseases and ailments that contribute to that. But just medical information.
Thinking about your medical information being tied into something like Amazon.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that we're talking about is, what do you think, is this a good idea or not? And we are broadcasting live. I want to give a shout out to Toby, who's watching right now on YouTube. Thanks for joining us. But yeah, talking about this new Alexa skill where it will manage your medication and even order it for you as well. And they're starting to roll this out. They're expected to have partnerships with a lot of different pharmacy companies. Amazon itself is getting into that game, which brings in a whole other issue of how much does Amazon have control of at this point. It's actually something we're going to be talking about later on in the show today, about a whole group that's formed to combat some of the influence that Amazon has. But this is something that they're launching. They did say that they've rolled out a way for third-party developers to be HIPAA compliant, which is also another thing, even just bringing up HIPAA when it comes to something like this and third-party developers, access to your medical information. It feels a little weird. It feels weird.
It's very weird.
Yeah. Where this goes from here, what else Amazon's going to bring into this, we don't know. But these skills are going to continue on going. You figure that Google Home might be coming up with something too. I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, yeah, they got to compete with Amazon.
Yeah.
One thing I did think was kind of funny, maybe ironic, was so this is all about helping you keep track of your medicine when you forget, right? And one way to make it more secure is they have like a PIN that you can put in, and then you can actually access what you took that day, what you are taking. It's like if you're forgetting to be able to take medicine, chances of you remembering a PIN are also going to be low. So I think that's going to like conflict.
Yeah.
I mean,
All those pins are going to be 1111.
like I'm all about it for like, you know, my grandma, like
Yeah.
in that kind of that realm. I'm all about it. I think there's going to be some kinks.
Yeah. Yeah, and some growing pains when it comes to it and how it rolls out. And yeah, the data breaches are definitely something that, you know, we can't ignore, that those have happened with all of, and it's not just Amazon. I mean, everybody has data breaches. But that's something else to bring into there. But you can check that out. You can read about it at digitaltrends.com. Let us know what you think. And talking about data breaches, let's continue on with that. So we have some more that have happened, and this is from Facebook and Twitter making an announcement about some third-party possible breaches that happened with data that you gave to them. So here's how it works. How many times have you gone in and downloaded an app and it's like, okay, set up an account or log in with your Twitter or Facebook account? I mean, we all do that. It's so much easier, and the convenience, there's no denying it, that if you just log in with that it's a much simpler way.
Oh, yeah.
To log in. I mean,
Yeah, it's much easier.
way easier, and that's great. But also, in theory, you're giving up your data there, and this is a particular development kit. So this is an announcement from Twitter and Facebook that we're both talking about this, that there was a malicious mobile software development kit that was maintained by a company called One Audience that, concealed in the apps downloaded from the Google Play Store, could exploit a vulnerability in the mobile ecosystem, which could essentially expose your personal data to third-party developers.
Yeah.
And that means your username and your password. And that means they could get, technically, in theory, access to your accounts.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this. Like, whenever I come on, I'm like, I know all my information's out there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not that exciting to, like, steal any of my information or, like, use it maliciously. Also, I think I know what you're about to say.
Well, go ahead.
I'm an iPhone user.
Okay, all right.
And sorry, all you Android fanboys out there, this did not affect
Firing
iOS devices.
shots.
So, you know.
Okay,
tough.
that is true. That is true. It didn't affect iPhone users this time around. But here's the other thing, though. They also, the possibility was there, like say it had, was that they could have accessed your Twitter account and taken it over. You worked hard at your verified Twitter account.
true. That's
How would
true.
you feel about it now?
I would not like that. I did, over the weekend, one of my sports teams lost, and I was getting trolled by an opposing fan. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just want to tear up this guy. But I was like, nope, you worked hard for that check mark. Don't blow it. So yeah, if someone got on and like start tweeting like very bad stuff, and also my check mark, I would be
Yeah.
ticked off.
Yeah, you'd be pretty mad about
Yeah.
that. Well, there's no guarantee that happened to anybody yet. Twitter said they're going to be notifying users who were exposed by it. There's not, I mean, since this is just coming out, we don't know of anybody who actually had their Twitter account taken over. But it's another one of those things. And one of the statements that Twitter actually said was, we think it's important for people to be aware that this exists out there and that they review the apps that they use to connect to their accounts. The thing is, how do you, if you use a lot of apps, how do you review that? How do you make sure? You know, because we don't know that back end as far as, I should have checked that there's a third-party software developer named One Audience that had access. You know, we don't know that. So I feel like that's a little bit of a cop-out, that there should be some more responsibility on Twitter's part. I don't know.
No, I agree. I think with this kind of stuff, though, the third party is, whenever I do sign in with like a social media account, it's usually my like Gmail.
Yeah.
If I can do that, that's my first go-to. Then it's Facebook. I never do Twitter.
Really?
I never do Twitter. I just feel like it's easier with the other ones. Also, those I care less about.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm not okay with them getting hacked or anything, but like if they do, it's not the end of the world for me.
But you don't want that Twitter one.
Oh yeah, that's the end of the world.
See, the end of the world.
Riley would blow up.
Well, that's part of the news that's coming out. So this is what we're taking a look at. And again, this is one more data breach. These happen all the time. And we don't know exactly how many people are going to be affected in the end. Potentially, you know, they said hundreds. Other people are saying millions. I mean, it just kind of depends on how many people are using these apps and how much access they have. But something else to think about when you're logging in, that maybe they're getting your data. All right, so continuing on here with some more trending news stories. This next one I love. I love this thing. So the Cybertruck We all saw the unveiling of the Cybertruck. We've all seen it at this point, and everybody's got their own thoughts and opinions on it. Right here, this is the video that Tesla posted, or Elon Musk posted a couple of days ago, showcasing a Tesla Cybertruck pulling a Ford F-150 up a hill while it tries to get away from it. Now, that was posted. There was immediate response from a lot of people. And Ford actually responded, one of their VPs.
Yeah, Ford is like, oh, let's do an apples to apples comparison because that wasn't it.
Yeah,
like,
talking
oh,
about how.
damn.
Yeah, here it is. This is Sonny Madger. He's one of the VPs for Ford. And yeah, send us the Cybertruck and we will do the apples to apples test for you. Because some of the complaint is, all right, well, that was a Ford F-150, but it's not loaded with anything in the back, so it's not heavy enough to get to utilize all the torque, and that's why you're able to pull it up there, because it's not really an apples-to-apples test.
Well, and didn't they also say it was like that was the beefed up Cybertruck 2, and
Yes.
that was like the very base model of the Ford F-150? It's
Yep,
like
two-wheel drive,
very
four-wheel
different.
drive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's what Ford was saying. It's like, hey, it's not right. Well, Elon Musk responded that, okay, yeah, that he was into it,
Yeah.
into doing this test. And then from there, it just expanded to this giant Twitter thing that's been going on. So Neil deGrasse Tyson jumped into the fray, talking about the physics of it and saying, yeah, electric vehicles are famously heavy over both axles. It's all about the weight borne by spinning tires. That's the source of traction, not the engine power. So he's weighing in on it and talking about then how it's not utilizing the torque and what they're able to do. So Elon Musk replying, electric motors also have insane torque if we load both trucks to the max. Electric still wins. Physics is the law. Everything else is a recommendation. And then it just keeps on going. And they go back and forth.
Oh my
so
goodness.
yeah, it's huge. Back and forth. High torque just spins the tire in place if that's not enough weight to provide traction. Blah, blah, blah. Load both to the max and the highest torque wins. So this is what Neil deGrasse Tyson is saying back to them. Eventually it got to where Elon Musk was like, all right, yeah, I agree with this. And then they talked about actually having this test maybe next week.
I would love that.
Me too. I am all about this use of social media. This is perfect.
This is like a nerd off, and I love
Yeah,
it.
total
I
nerd off.
think this would be awesome. You have like Ford, like you have their people there, then you have Tesla's people there, and Neil deGrasse Tyson is like emceeing like the competition.
Oh,
That would be awesome.
That's a great idea.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I bet you
okay.
could get like pay-per-view for that. I charge people for
I
sure.
think you could. Yeah, I mean, I would pay. I'd pay $5 to watch it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I want to see it. As long as they're all mic'd up and I can
yeah.
hear all the smack talking that
Oh,
they're
can you
doing.
imagine Elon mic'd up?
Oh, Elon going crazy? Yeah. Oh,
There'd be
man.
some profanity for sure.
I am definitely into that pay-per-view. So make that happen. Cybertruck versus F-150. Yeah, this has got to happen. So that's what's been going on there. All right, one last trending story that we wanted to get to, and I'm bringing this up just because I'm seeing it everywhere right now. We all know that Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker is coming out in less than a month. And this is going to be, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this breaks all-time movie records.
Oh, yeah.
It's the 9th Star Wars movie in the Jedi saga. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it does. But Disney is very secretive about the script to this, naturally, because they don't want anything to come out ahead of time. But there was a report that there was actually a script from this movie that was available on eBay, an actual script. So what happened is J.J. Abrams was talking about this in an interview, and he said that, yes, that was the real script. Somebody at Disney saw it, and we were able to buy it very quickly before anybody else got a hold of it. But the way it happened was an actor left it under his bed or her bed in a hotel room.
Yeah.
That is what happened. Like, these things are so highly guarded that the only people that had the full script were the key actors, the ones that are in the entire movie. So it narrows it down.
Yeah.
And he said that he's not going to reveal who it was, that he wanted to, but he's not going to reveal who it is. So that's where we're at right now.
So we got Adam Driver,
Yep.
Daisy Ridley, and John Boyega. Who do you
Yeah,
think it
those are
was?
really the three main
Who do you
ones.
think it was?
Oh man, who would I put money on if I had to put money on it?
Yeah.
Adam Driver.
See, I thought that at first.
Yeah.
Just because of the characters he plays in other movies, I'm like, oh, he's kind of careless. But he's like a former Marine.
Oh,
And I
that's
think
true.
he would have
Good
enough
point.
discipline to like be like, no, like
You make a good point on there.
he knows how to guard secrets probably.
Okay,
like,
so
pretty
maybe
well.
not Adam Driver.
I was thinking John.
Boyega?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that could be him.
I was thinking it was him.
John Boyega, if you'd like to come on the show and defend yourself on whether or not you were or were not the one to leave that script, please contact us here for Digital Trends Live. We would like to hear your statement on that matter. That's where it is. So they did get the script back, but it's just hilarious.
I wonder how much they bought it for.
I
Like
would
they didn't
really like to know
disclose that
too.
either.
No.
And then also, like, I feel like eBay's probably had stolen property in the past.
Yeah.
You know, go up there. Like, I mean, it's basically like an online pawn shop.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like they have to have a policy in place where people can be like, yeah, no, that's stolen. You can't sell that. It needs to be returned.
They probably do, but that would have brought so much publicity to it that they were probably just like, just get it off of there
That
quick
makes sense.
before anybody knows about it, or this person decides to make copies or whatever.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And J.J. Abrams was like, yeah, spilled beans.
Yeah. So that's where it's at right now, but that was a trending story. I wanted people to know about that. All right. We've got a lot of tech news and headlines and interviews and everything coming up here on this show. That's what we do here every day. First off, though, thank you, Riley.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And I think you and I both need to attend this Cybertruck versus Ford F-150 event. That needs to happen. But other than that, coming up, we're going to be talking about some more cars because our own Adam Kaslakowski was at the LA Auto Show. He's going to kind of give us a recap of that. We've got a lot of coverage at Digital Trends. He'll showcase some of the highlights, some of the things he was most excited about, and he'll be posing in front of a car. What car? Well, we'll have to find out after this break. So stick around, back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining us. I'm Greg Nibbler, and of course, we broadcast live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you tech headlines, news, interviews, and discussions. And right now, we're going to recap something that's been happening, actually over the last week. It wrapped up, but we had somebody who was there to attend this event. I'm Greg Nibbler. Joining us now, we have Adam Kaslakowski to talk about the LA Auto Show and whatever car you were in front of. We will discuss that at the end of this interview. But Adam, hello.
Hello, hi. I thought this was your new car. I was just picking it up for you.
Thank you. Yes, actually, if you can just drop that off out front, just leave the keys, and please don't make eye contact. That'd be great. But other than that, let's talk about the LA Auto Show. So this just went on, one of the biggest auto shows clearly in the world, and definitely this time of year. What were some of the things you were most excited about?
So here's the headline you need to know about the 2019 LA Auto Show is the fact that 9 electric cars debuted. That has to be a record worldwide. This is just a massive data point in the fact that electrification is completely taking over the industry.
Which, I mean, that's huge. It's something that I feel like a lot of people kind of I don't know if the auto manufacturers were, but they were reticent for so many years. But now, yeah, this is everybody getting into the fray. Well, minus Toyota kind of, but still, everybody else getting into it. So 9 different ones. Let's walk through some of the ones that you were, some other things you were most excited about.
Sure. So we finally got hands-on with the Porsche Taycan. This is something I've really been looking forward to. Everyone keeps pegging it as a Model S competitor. It's really not. They're very different cars. One's a sedan, one's really a sports car or a sports sedan. They're totally in different brackets. But we finally got to see it in person, get inside of it, poke and prod, get our sticky little fingers all over it. And, you know, we loved it. It's typical Porsche. The build quality is fantastic. And probably the biggest thing we liked about the interior of the 4S is the fact that, unlike Tesla, it's not just one massive screen that controls all your functions and you have to click through to find everything. It's about 4 or 5 different smaller screens that are set up for one individual task. It just makes it way easier, and the cockpit looks a lot cleaner.
Interesting. So it's just kind of spread across like a normal dashboard, or is it just
yeah,
with
that's
4
correct.
different small
So
screens?
you've got an LCD screen like in front of you that has all your gauges, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, I think, coming across the dashboard, and then one down into the, transmission tunnel or where that would be. So there's just kind of small screens everywhere, which is a really nice touch.
I think it's interesting that people are saying that it's a competitor to the Model S. It just shows what power Tesla has, that everybody's weighing it against what they've done, that they're bringing it out that way, but it's really not even a Model S at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned the fact that a bunch of manufacturers were waiting on EVs and now they're all coming out. And I think really Tesla forced their hands. As any manufacturer, you hate change. Change is super expensive. So they were going to push internal combustion for as long as they could. Tesla came out and really forced their hand, and now everyone's coming out with their electric cars.
Oh, well, let's talk about a couple other ones.
Sure, absolutely. We also got to check out the Bollinger B1 and B2 trucks. These are the electric trucks of your off-road dreams. Right, this is an amazing amount of torque, amazing amount of horsepower when you're off-road in this truck that looks like it was designed by a 4-year-old.
So even worse. Okay, this one, just real quick, side note, design. This one or the Cybertruck? Which one do you like more?
Okay, so you just want me to get hate mail from somebody no matter what. But I'll tell you, that's a super easy decision. I'll take the hate mail. The Bollinger looks way better than the Cybertruck. Way better.
Okay, there we go. Well, you can send your emails to aakeslakowski@digitaltrends. All right, so continuing on though. All right, so but that Bollinger, I mean, it does look really cool, and this is one, and talking about it, it is definitely for a higher end kind of market, right?
Yeah, the Bollinger is super tricky because it's a strange Tonka-looking Lego truck that has slab sides and crazy off-road tech like portal axles and 15 inches of ground clearance. But then it's $125,000 starting, and it has 200 miles of range. Like, the customer for that is extremely limited. It was fun to get inside. It was fun to feel all the switches, and everything is clearly bespoke for the car. Everything felt very nice inside, but still, I don't know who's buying that truck.
Yeah. I mean, if you're supposed to go use it off-roading, 200 miles of range isn't going to really get you anywhere very close to do that.
Yeah, you've got to be around your house, right?
Yeah.
You've got to be in the off-road park that happens to be in your backyard.
Right.
Now, I mean, it's not just for off-roading. It is street legal, and there's a bunch of reasons why you'd want to use it on the road. Like, it's great for hauling things or boats or like lumber. But, a major part of this is the off-road contingent, and that seems to be where most of their reservations are coming from. And I just don't know who these people are. But if you have one and you're buying one, let me drive it. I would love to review it.
There we go. All right, so that's the Bollinger truck, and we've got reviews of that at Digital Trends too. The other, another really big announcement was the Mach-E Mustang. Did you actually get to see it and get your feel for it?
Well, Greg, I got to get inside of it. All right,
Nice.
but I get to see it. All right, we get to play with these things. We're journalists. So we got to climb around the Mach-E. Holy cow, the interior is leagues better than your average Ford. This is an interior I would be happy to be inside, which I can't really say about a lot of Ford interiors right now.
It sounds like you're a really big fan of these newer interiors. I mean, between the Porsche and the Mustang, is that something just because they're e-vehicles that they're redesigning the interior? Is it a design thing, or why is it that there's such a big
it might
difference?
just be because I've been doing this for so long, and I'm so tired of black buttons and the regular layout, and the fact that EVs free up a lot of creativity. That could very well be it, and that's just on me. But I think a lot of people have been driving in the same cars for 10 years. They're used to how a normal car looks. So they should have the same reaction. They like the freedom that this gives designers to make some interesting choices. Speaking of interesting choices, one thing I really liked about the Mach-E is, yes, it has the massive screen inside like a Tesla, not like the Porsche, but they also integrated an analog rotary knob so you can make selections quickly in between menus. So it's this melding of digital and analog technology that I think is really clever.
I like that idea. So you can keep your eyes on the road and just manually know where you're going to be going.
Yeah, exactly. And the haptic feedback on the knob itself, the actual switching, it felt really nice and felt upscale.
That's cool. So that's in the Mach-E Mustang. And again, we got that there. The last one, before we talk about whatever you're sitting in front of, going to the hybrid route, so the Honda CR-V. What was it about this one that stood out for you?
Yeah, I understand we've just talked about crazy off-road trucks and a Porsche EV and the Mustang Mach-E and these really exciting cars. And now we're going to talk about the Honda hybrid. I get that it sounds boring, but here's why this is hugely important. So right now, the only hybrid that sells in ludicrous numbers is the Prius, and it's always been that way. Even Toyota's own hybrids that use the same Prius tech, like the Camry hybrid, they just don't sell that well. the Prius has always been kind of a one-hit wonder, and it does crazy well, but no one else can replicate its success. Now Honda is putting their really, really good hybrid tech into their best-selling car and the best-selling SUV for years, the CR-V. This is a huge announcement.
So when does this one actually come out?
Next year.
Next, it will be next year.
We get it next year, yeah, and it has a 50% improvement over the combustion engine's gas mileage. 50%.
Wow, that's huge. All right,
yeah,
so that's
this is really solidifying the fact that hybrids and EVs are taking over. This is the most popular SUV in the segment for years, going hybrid. This thing is going to sell like gangbusters. You're going to find this on every single suburban block. These things are going to be everywhere.
Well, that is the Honda CR-V, and yeah, you're right. It's just further signs. I mean, 9 different electric cars, this one hybrid, and all that, we're talking about right now. Read about all of them at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on here as we go through the show, so it looks like we're having just a little bit of a tech issue here as we're taking a look here. So there we go. That's broadcasting that. Adam, okay, I want to come back to you here for one more thing. And just to make sure that we're up and going. All right, we're up and going. There we go. So you right now are sitting in front of, once again, some amazing car. Can you tell us what it is?
Yeah, let me get my fat face out of the way. So this is a 1988 Ferrari 328 that's been done up for SEMA. The SEMA show was last month. This was easily my favorite car at the SEMA show, and I'm super happy to be in front of it.
That is just an awesome vehicle. Do you get to drive it?
I do not. I got to sat in it, if you don't tell the owner. I got to sat in it last night secretly. It's super uncomfortable, but no, I do not get to drive it yet. I haven't asked. Let's be honest. I haven't asked yet. Maybe I do.
You got to ask. You have to ask. Or also, probably now you just got busted because you just said that you sat in it. So
exactly.
Well, Adam, as always, thank you for joining us. Always exciting finding out what's going on in the world of automotive tech. It's constantly evolving, and we've got all the details at digitaltrends.com. Adam, thanks a lot.
I'm looking forward to it next time.
You can park that in front later on. All right, so continuing on here, let us talk about some more tech. So we have lots to cover here on the show, and this is what we do here at Digital Trends. It's fun. We talk about tech. We take your questions. That's it. So coming up here, we've got the co-author of Ditch the Act, Reveal the Surprising Power of the Real You for Greater Success. That's a mouthful right there, but really we're going to be talking about a lot of different things in digital branding. We've got Leonard Kim, who's going to be joining us to discuss that. So if you have any questions, drop those in, and we'll be back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
Welcome back to Digital Trends Live as we continue through the show. Thank you for joining us. Drop in your comments, your questions as we are broadcasting live. We can take those. And I'm Greg Nibbler, and up next we're going to be talking about brand marketing in the digital space and just what that means and some of the really interesting ways that companies can get creative and some of the different campaigns that we're getting to see that are good. Some maybe not as good, but we're going to talk about that and so much more. Joining us right now, we have Leonard Kim, who is the co-author of Ditch the Act, Reveal the Surprising Power of the Real You for Greater Success. Leonard, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, anytime. Thank you so much for having me, Greg. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Let's talk about the book really quick and give everybody an idea of what this book is about.
Sure. So basically, the book's an entire guide that teaches you everything that you need to know from A to Z on how to go out there and build a successful personal brand so you can go and propel your career, your business, or whatever it is that you want. Get the social media followers that you're looking for, land clients, and basically transform your life from wherever you are today to where you want it to become.
And branding is just such a huge part of that. And then in this, the digital space, which there's just so many ways you can be creative with it, I guess, and so many different ways you can figure out how to brand. And I think that's good. It allows some opportunities, but also presents some challenges at the same time. Can you walk us through what some of the challenges are that people are facing, whether it's personal or business wise?
Sure. So everyone's talking about authenticity, vulnerability, and those things. And they say you want to go out there and highlight these things when you go out there and present your brand. But we've come to a time in our lives where we don't know how to really become authentic anymore. In our resumes, we're told to bolster up our results, talk about all the achievements that we've made, and kind of document them. And the same kind of goes for business, where we're told that we can't show any signs of weakness. We have to go out there and put on this armor and show how amazing things are. And when you kind of do those things and you put those two things together, what ends up happening is you have this whole culture and a whole society where everyone's going out there and touting their very best moments. Now, how do you go out there and succeed if everyone's going out there and playing the exact same blueprint and the same playing cards? You can't, because everyone all blends in and they're all exactly the same. So what I do is I teach people how to go out there and find their biggest struggles, their biggest weaknesses, and use those as the differentiators to really go out there and drive their brand. Because for the other people who are actually seeing this is inspiring. This is what they're looking for. This is the things that help them really connect at a deeper level with people. And when you kind of combine those elements into what you're doing, it gives you a much more higher ability to go out there and achieve true success.
Interesting. So it's kind of like, when people are posting on Instagram or something, it's always the best picture that's been photoshopped to make you look amazing. But this is saying, no, go ahead and post some of the other pictures too, just as kind of a comparison there, and show the real person, the weaknesses and everything.
Exactly, because when we look at weaknesses in other people, what we see those as is inspiring, bold, brave, and courageous. But when we see those in ourselves, we see that as weakness, like something to be ashamed of. And it's kind of weird how our brains flip it the wrong way when time after time, when we look at movies, TV shows, successful people, what really motivates us is them going through all those failures and everything. And it doesn't matter if you're like 30 years old or about 90 years old, chances are you've encountered a huge debilitating situation at least once in your life. And those are the things that people really connect with.
Interesting. Well, let's talk about then the branding side and some of the different creative ways that people are utilizing that, or some that stand out to you.
Sure. So I think one of the most important things is when we look at T-Mobile's former CEO, John Legere, he put himself completely out there. He put himself front and center, became the face of the brand. And if you look at T-Mobile's network, they don't have the best speeds, people drop calls and all these other things, but because he built such a huge and successful personal brand around who he is with his cooking show and all the other things that he does, you are automatically attracted to him and you're like, oh, this guy's out there. He's fighting the big, large companies. And that's what really emphasizes and connects people to that brand. And that happens time and time again in all these different brands. With one company that I work with, Keck Medicine of the University of Southern California, we've been setting up profiles for our doctors to go out there and share their own personal stories. And it's been creating this huge impact where now the people are beginning to understand who these physicians are before they even make it into the operating room or even for an appointment. And that's helping drive a lot of business over here too.
So it's kind of developing that cult of personality around who you are and just showcasing that. I mean, John Legere, that's a great example because honestly, how many people can name the CEOs of Sprint or AT&T off the top of their head? But you know who John Legere is.
Exactly. And go on.
Well, no, I was just going to say, like, going from there and talking about that and looking at, that kind of a unique thing, what about some examples maybe of companies doing something unique along those lines and being creative with that?
So a lot of companies, what they have to do is they want to go and tell that human story with exactly what they're doing, but it's so hard to do it. So a lot of them, what they do is they make a fake character, like a gecko over at Geico or something like that. But that's not really what really goes out there and connects with people. Now, what you have to do is you have to think about the companies. If they go out there and get their employees, their executives, and their board members to all go out there and share their compelling messages with others, what that really does is it connects with people on a human level. Now, my friend Joe Martin, when he was over at Adobe, he put up like two different ads. One ad was from the Adobe account, multi-billion-dollar company, Fortune 500, and one was from his personal account. The copy was exactly the same, the creative was exactly the same. And if you were to put apples to apples together, what ended up happening is Joe's ad got 10 times more clicks than the Adobe ad. And what that means is you're getting ads delivered at 10 times a cheaper rate. That's because people are so tired of seeing like these company faces trying to go out there and manufacture names for what they're doing, when all they really need to do is just put their people, put them in the front of their companies, and then that's what's really going to connect with them. It's kind of taking that branded content and making it a little bit unbranded by leading with the person instead of the institution.
Yeah, and I would imagine, for some companies, that's certainly the reverse of what a lot of people have known forever. It's you buy a big advertising campaign, you get a big spokesperson, but no, it's the saying like your employees are your spokespeople.
Exactly. So you kind of take that model, you flip it around, because if you take branded content, like the University of Southern California, their most trafficked article in a month might hit 9,000 reads. And with digital trends, you might have a few articles get 100,000, 50,000, and things like that. And when you kind of look at the media publishers, they have a lot of these articles that go out there and break the 100,000 mark. And then when you look at brand content, most of it falls around like 200 to 300 read mark. So if you kind of take that comparison, what people are saying is, oh, I see that you work over at Cisco or IBM. I know what IBM is. They just make computers. And then we have these preconceived notions of how these companies work. So it doesn't really work into our favor. We have to go out there and take that company out of the equation, lead with the person, then put the company back into it.
What kind of advice would you have for, like, say, a business out there who wants to try to incorporate this in? How do you decide who goes to the forefront, or who should be that person that does that for your company?
Well, it shouldn't just be one person. Like, let's say you're a multi-conglomerate and you got 5,000 people working with you. Over at Keck Medicine at the University of Southern California, we have over 500 doctors who work here. Why should we just limit it to just one person becoming the face of the company? It gives us the opportunity to get all our employees, all our executives on board who do want to go out there and pursue that mission. Now, not everyone's going to want to do it. Now, someone who might be a secretary or an accountant might want to sit back and go, you know what, my hands are tied. I don't want to go out there and share exactly what's going on with me. But there's a lot of people who actually do believe in these companies, who are very much brand advocates, who go out there and preach the message everywhere that they go. Now, if you could get them to go out there and reward them for going out there and communicating online and sharing their own personal stories attached to the brand message, that just grows the brand altogether.
Nice. This is really interesting, just kind of thinking about how this is all changing.
Yeah.
I know we're running low on time, but I wanted to also bring up just the incorporation of technology into consumer branding, and how do you see that incorporating, I guess, maybe as a trend right now? What is one of the biggest trends that you're seeing?
So I think if we look 20 years into the future, what we're going to do is we're going to build these digital personas that are going to be a direct reflection of who we are, that kind of go out there and do everything. So if we look at social media now, it's kind of a take on that. But what ends up happening is, just like we said earlier, people are only going out there and sharing the good moments. So it's not an accurate reflection of who we are. Once we could go out there and build our digital platforms to be more of an accurate representation of who we are, the good, the bad, and our versions of the ugly, then we could go out there and achieve true success. So what we have to do is personally go out there and implement those things into what we're doing. So we could take those social media platforms and video platforms or whatever it may be, but we have to be more conscious of not just putting the very best moments and playing that highlight reel, but making things that really connect with people. And in the book, Ditch the Act, there's an 8-step expose yourself process that goes through exactly what you need to do to go out there and communicate those bad and those horrible moments too. And it works like a muscle. You just have to go out there and train yourself, and then it just happens.
Well, Leonard, thank you so much for joining us here. And again, the book, Ditch the Act, reveal the surprising power of the real you for greater success. I'm assuming pick it up anywhere books are sold?
Yeah. Barnes & Noble, Amazon, anywhere you want.
Well, go pick up that book. And I want to say thank you very much for joining us here today. A really fascinating discussion and interesting to talk about where all of this is going. Thanks for being here on Digital Trends Live.
Oh, anytime. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. All right, well, there we go. So talking about branding in this digital age and different ways that's being incorporated in, really fun discussions. We have more fun discussions, though. I need to get to a break because we have John Velasco from our New York studio who's going to join us to talk about some new smart home gadgets. The Amazon Dash is one of them, and a couple other ones that he thinks you should know about. So very cool stuff, especially coming up right before Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining us. We like to keep you up to date on everything that's going on in technology, and that's what we're going to do right now. I'm Greg Nibbler here in our Portland, Oregon studio, and we're now going to talk about some smart home gadgets that are out there that you can pick up. To do so, we're going to our New York studio where we have John Velasco standing by. John, as always, thanks for joining us. I was taking a look at some of the different things that you wanted to talk about, really interesting products, but maybe we could start off talking about this Amazon one.
Yeah, so thanks for having me, Greg. So the first one we're going to talk about here is the Amazon Dash Smart Shelf. So I'm not sure about you, Greg, but if you remember those Dash buttons that Amazon put out a few years ago, where you could press the button and automatically reorder supplies like paper, tape, even Tide Pods. So Amazon just released a brand new product, or they're about to release a brand new product. They announced it. It's the Amazon Dash Smart Shelf. So basically, it's a smart shelf for those Dash products. So it looks like a flat surface. It's basically a scale, and you have your products on there, whether it's paper, your office supplies, and it's smart enough to sense when you're low on those products. So it'll automatically will reorder those supplies for you, so you don't ever have to worry about having to go on Amazon, find the order, make that order, and have it delivered. It's going to be automatic. So it's a nice touch if you're in a busy office and you just don't want to be bothered with having to make those orders. So it'll automatically will know to order them for you. So it's great for offices like ours, and I know you guys there in Portland would definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, that's an
And
interesting...
there are 3 different sizes.
Or I was just going to say, that's a really interesting use of that, because I do remember the Dash buttons, and I never actually utilized it myself. I ordered one and then didn't do it. But what happens if everybody just takes it off of the shelf? Then what goes on? Does it just automatically order it?
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, that's a good question. I'd imagine that you would still have to somehow, confirm the order. Maybe you might have an option for that when you set it up. But yeah, that's a good question about what happens if someone just accidentally pushes everything over and the weight scale senses that there's nothing there. But I think it'd be smart. You'd suspect, it'd be smart enough to actually know when you have something that's on there for a period of time, then all of a sudden zap. But hey, it's a possibility. We'll find out. And it's going to be released on the end of the month. And right now, when you sign up, for those that sign up who pick up the Smart Shelf, you get 15% off on supplies with select partners. So that's a good incentive there.
Well, I will say that Amazon Dash Smart Shelf is one of the most awkward phrases to say ever, but it does sound like a pretty cool product itself. So walking on and talking about a couple other ones, let's talk about this one from IKEA.
Yeah, so it's right here in front of me. It is their latest smart bulb. It's from IKEA. This is the IKEA Trad-free smart light bulb. It's basically an Edison-styled light bulb. So Edison had the light bulb, the first light bulb. It had the filament in there, really nice glow. So this is basically their interpretation with a smart aspect to it. So I'm not sure if you like, for you, Greg, if this is something you'd like, because it gives you that nice warm glow. It's a great for an ambiance piece in the home, and it really mimics the Edison light bulb. But being smart and being an LED-powered light, if you touch it, it's not hot. You're not gonna get burned. So the other aspect to it is, of course, the smart element. So you'll be able to actually control this light using your smartphone. And you need to buy a bridge, obviously. IKEA has its own bridge to connect this to your network and subsequently control it via your smartphone. So you can remotely turn it on, turn it off. And it's just, a very different looking bulb, because yes, you have the Philips Hue bulbs, you have all the other smart light bulbs. But this is slightly different just because of that, nice glow. It almost has that Edison-styled look to it. And you know what the best part is, Greg, about this?
What?
The cost. It's $10. So $10, just for the small smart bulb. So that in itself, you could buy a bunch of these just as long as you have that bridge. You'll be able to control your home, and it's just a nice, nice touch, nice addition for lighting in the home if you're looking for something like this.
Yeah, I like that idea. I mean, I like the fact that it's mixing kind of a classic look with the smart home aspect. And for $10, that is pretty cheap for a smart light bulb. I mean, that's a pretty good deal. So yeah,
Exactly.
I would definitely be interested in that. So that's the IKEA. Again, the Trod-free smart light bulb. Want to make sure it's all awkward phrases today. IKEA Trod-free smart light bulb, and then we talked about the Amazon Dash smart shelf, and then we've got one other one here that we wanted to cover here today, just to talk about some new smart home gadgets. Go ahead and tell us what that is.
So yeah, covering smart home, I come across a lot of very weird products, and this is one of them. At first it sounds weird, but it's actually practical. This is what they call the Fingerbot, and the name says it all. It's a robot that presses a button for you. Simple enough. And it's a small, tiny robot. It's a cube shape, and on one end it has an arm, and you could actually remotely, press a button. So if you're at home, or let's say you're at work and you need to turn on a light or a switch, but you don't have, a smart light system, and you have some, older lights, this is a good solution for you because you'll be able to press a button. Or if you're me, you attach this to something, let's say like a computer, and let's say you're trying to, win a contest online, but you need to be at home at your computer, but you're at work, so you need to press the enter button at a specific time. This is the product for you because it's going to just sit right there, press that button, and there you go. Simple enough. And another good thing about it is that it's pretty inexpensive. It's on Indiegogo right now. They're starting up a campaign for it. And the best part, too, is that it's pretty affordable. It's $25 with the early bird pricing. And the standard MSRP price is going to be $50. So for something that presses a button, this might be useful for some people.
I guess I can kind of see that. I mean, it does sound, again, awkward saying Fingerbot, but at the same time, that does have a use for turning basically anything, I mean, really anything, into a smart device if you can use that button. I just wish they had like some attachments, like prosthetic attachments to give it different fingers that you can use for that side of it. But
oh yeah,
maybe that comes down the line. But that's the Fingerbot
version 2. Yeah.
So that's the early bird price, $25, that you can take a look at that. And we've got reviews and we've got articles up about all of these there. And John's going to be with us a lot over the next couple of days because with Black Friday, with Cyber Monday, there is so much going on in the smart home world. And I know you're going to be keeping us up to date on all the great prices. And John, I want to say thank you, as always, for joining us here on Digital Trends Live.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, so that is John Velasco, our smart home editor, always on top of everything going on in the world of smart home devices, the Fingerbot. So we've got more coming up, though. We got a lot to talk about, and since it is this time of year, a lot of as we get towards the end of the year, a lot of people start thinking about donating to charitable organizations. But figuring out which one to donate to can be sometimes an issue, or which one actually matches up with what you believe in. Well, there's an app called GiveList, and we have the founder and CEO who's going to be joining us after this break to talk about just that. So if you have questions along those lines, drop them into whatever platform you're watching on. We'll be back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
This is Digital Trends Live, your source for the latest news in technology. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you for joining us. And as we're getting toward the end of the year, but really any time of year this could be applicable, we take a look at donating to charities. We probably all think about, giving something to a nonprofit, but finding one that matches up with your values and also understanding what that organization does and some of the backstory of it can be really exhausting. It can be very challenging to do that. And we're going to talk about a solution to that right now. We have the CEO and founder of GiveList, Jonathan Beck, who's joining us. Jonathan, thanks so much for being here on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
This is such an interesting application that you've developed, and I wanted to talk to you about, why you founded this and maybe what some of the challenges and problems you saw that led you to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it seems like we're at a time where problems are getting bigger and bigger, and our population worldwide is getting larger and larger, and so these problems the magnitude grows. And yet it seems like technology focuses mostly on issues and problems that have to do with things that help wealthy people have more enjoyable lives, basically. And, that's all good and fine, but at the same time, it just feels wrong when there's such large percentages of the world's population that are starving or dealing with basic issues that aren't even issues for us anymore in these kind of more blessed, wealthier societies like ours. And so there's all these great people doing great work out there, and it just seems like such a shame that it's so hard to find and identify those people and support them on a continual basis. And so that was kind of the main motivation for building GiveList.
I mean, and you're right. There are so many people out there that are doing good and need financial support. I mean, you can't do it without money. Money's what makes everything run, or volunteers, or whatever it may be. And connecting to those people can be a real challenge because you also have some other players out there who maybe take advantage of charitable donations as well. So sifting through that's hard. And so with GiveList, this is a way to kind of cut through a lot of that. So can you walk through how this actually works?
Yeah, totally. So, first and foremost, there's really no curation of any nonprofits. There's really nowhere to find these guys. And so, first thing that we did is we built a really, really robust, if not the most robust database on nonprofits that exists by partnering with a number of people in the industry and then adding a little bit of machine learning on top to help categorize these nonprofits by actually what they do instead of just say their tax codes. And then also partner with foundations. And basically you could think of foundations as professional givers. And so we partner with them to help curate lists of really good organizations to give to for specific issues. So, for example, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation knows exactly who to give to for water, whether that's sanitation or clean drinking water. But they've spent a lot of time and money thinking about who to write grants to. And so we've basically duplicated that data into a GiveList, kind of like a playlist, where it's a professionally curated list of organizations about a specific problem. So we allow people to find any organization based on what they do, as well as these GiveLists. And you can give on a one-time basis, you can give on a recurring basis, whether that's weekly or monthly, or you can give with what we would call a donor advised fund model, where normally giving vehicle reserved for the wealthy, but we're democratizing it. So you say you have a big donation to give, like on Giving Tuesday, you want to give, but you're not sure who to give to. You can give that amount and it goes into a balance. You get a tax write-off now, but you don't have to distribute it. You can distribute it over the next year or two, or however long you want, to as many organizations as you want. So we layered in a robust financial giving tool on top of it, and then we let people see what their donations are actually accomplishing.
That is really incredible, actually. So you basically have the funds. They decide when they want to disperse it to whoever they want to disperse it to. I want to talk a little bit more about that too, but before that, just talking about the curation of some of these different organizations. How do you find all of these different charitable organizations? Do people come to you, or do you seek them out?
Yeah, so we had to go, we had to build it ourselves, and we had to go out to get the data. Most of these charities, not most of them, I mean, all of them are registered with the IRS as a 501c3. And so you can get the data from the IRS, but the data that you get is not great, and it's really messy. And so it takes a number of expensive data scientists to kind of wrangle that data. And then what we are able to do is we're able to layer supplemental pieces on top, like going and finding, does this nonprofit have a Twitter account? Do they have a Facebook account? If they do, we probably have a logo for them, right? Mm-hmm. Versus just kind of a static, what you would call like a tax code and a name that's in all caps. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of work to curate that and get that going. But now that you've got this list, I'm assuming people can come to you as well and say, hey, I've got a charitable organization. Here's what we do. Can we be a part of GiveList?
Exactly. And we have to verify that they actually are a charitable organization, because obviously, fraud can occur. So we have, we monitor what's called, without getting too technical, the IRS's publication that's regularly published on what organizations are actually considered tax exempt, which you got to keep on top of.
Oh yeah, I'm sure fraud everywhere. There's always somebody that's going to try to game a system and take advantage of someone. But so that's interesting that you're cross-checking it with that. Talking about the actual lists themselves, what are some of the trends that you've seen maybe this time of year when it comes to giving, how people are doing that, and what some of the organizations are that are receiving, I guess, maybe a lot of attention versus maybe sometimes of the year they're not?
Yeah, so at the end of the year, it seems like environment seems to be kind of more of a popular one. And as well as, when I say environment, I also mean like animals. So anyone that's not a human. And yeah, I mean, there's some human rights stuff that seems to surface a bit as well. At the end of the year, I think there's a specific type of giver that ends up giving at the end of the year. And it's kind of a rush giver. And a lot of times the more popular charities are the ones that receive donations, because they're the only ones that can really compete in the environment for attention, right? Especially at the end of the year, right? I mean, if there's people going on to try to find an organization to give to, there's only a number of organizations that can win the eyeball attention of those people. So it seems to be the more popular ones, as well as environment. Yeah.
So, and looking at it from that aspect, if someone were to go on to GiveList, just to walk through what that user experience is like, I guess is kind of what I wanted to do. Thinking about how, someone who's never been on it before isn't quite sure what they want to donate to, but they have some idea of what they're interested in. How do they use the app itself?
Absolutely, yeah. So they would sign up and create an account. We would get a certain number of personal information from them to make sure that they're legit. Just like Robinhood or Acorns or any other investment app. Then from there, what they can do is they can go through a pretty robust browsing system. We have really big world problems highlighted and exactly what those problems are from the numbers standpoint. And then we have a list of all the organizations fighting those problems. And we have a number of curated give lists. And so either with that browsing experience or with search, they have, for the first time, really, you have a kind of an interesting discovery tool to find organizations that are doing stuff that you care about. And as you come across organizations you like, you can kind of add those organizations to a section of the application called your giving. And then from there, we give you basically ways to distribute and allocate funds to those organizations in a number of different ways.
So it really does just make it such a much easier process to donate to causes that you care about and find organizations that you didn't know about beforehand.
Exactly, that's the idea.
Well, congratulations on making this. I mean, that's such a huge thing, and it is important. There's so many problems, like you said, that are out there that need attention and that people can help with, and maybe they didn't know how to help before, but this would certainly narrow that down, and the educational aspect, too, of understanding some of these bigger problems in case people don't know about it. So it's just such a robust app, and it's available, I'm assuming, iOS and Android stores. Just go look up GiveList.
That's right, yeah.
So go there and take a look at that and download GiveList and take a look this time of year, or really any time of year. I think that's also important to remember too. But whatever it is that you want to do, yeah, definitely go there and take a look at it. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on Digital Trends Live to talk about this, and congrats on creating this and doing something good.
Hey, cheers. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so really interesting, right? Talking about how we give and finding a way to curate all of those different charitable organizations. So that's fantastic. That's GiveList. And we have a lot to talk about here on Digital Trends Live. We like to keep you up to date on technology. We've got some more trending stories we're going to talk about next. It's going to take a turn with its robot dogs and police. I'm going to be talking about that coming up. We also have more interviews. We're going to talk about some Amazon stories that are going on and lots to talk about. We are broadcasting live. We can take your comments, your questions, so drop those in whatever platform you're watching on. We'll be back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
Hello, this is Digital Trends Live, and I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you for joining us. So let's talk about some more tech headlines right now. This is what we do here on the show. We keep you up to date with what's going on in the world of technology, and this is a story you're probably going to see a lot of places as it starts rolling out, and it has to do with Boston Dynamics Spot Robot. These are the robotic dogs that have given some people nightmares, but also they tout as being something that you can use in a lot of different industries, whether it's industrial or commercial uses. But what about the police? It was inevitable that this was going to happen. So here's what's going on. The Boston Dynamics Spot Robot has apparently, for several months, been used by the Massachusetts State Police. This is a video of the Massachusetts State Police themselves utilizing a pair of these nightmares as they enter into a house. Now, obviously, there are certainly good uses for this. They're claiming that it's being used for like bomb squads. Obviously, that would be a great use for something like this. It keeps people safe. And I just want to make clear, I understand that use of it and that it could keep people safe. But looking on it from the other side, it's also a robotic dog being utilized by the police. So here's what we're seeing with this. So they tried it out. They said, like I said, that they used the Spot for the bomb squad and that it was only that, and that was part of a leasing agreement that they had with Boston Dynamics. This, however, was utilized also in a couple of incidents. And that's all we know about it so far, is that there were incidents, and this is according to a representative from WBUR, who were the ones that first broke this story, said that the Massachusetts State Police said they were testing it, but it was utilized in incidents. So what that means, whether it was actually used in the field, we don't really know yet. However, the ACLU is actually investigating this. So the ACLU it got their attention, and they want to know, and this is something that they've talked about before, about any use of robotics when it comes to police enforcement. And I tend to agree with that. I think that we should know what's going on and how robotics are being incorporated in and make sure it's done in a responsible manner. So they're going to be investigating this, which means this is going to become a bigger deal. And we're going to find out. Now, it doesn't mean that anything nefarious happened, but I think just the fact that we're utilizing robotics like this, and I'm sorry, it does bring back imagery of pretty much any kind of sci-fi futuristic horror movie that you can think of with this kind of incorporation. It's important to make sure that we understand what's going on with it. Now, there was another statement that came out, and this is from Boston Dynamics. Boston Dynamics actually said this, and it follows up with an incident with a statement that the Massachusetts State Police and Boston Dynamics say that the agreement between them doesn't allow robots to physically harm or threaten people. So that's something specifically that they put in there. They're not allowed to use them to physically harm or threaten people. And from Boston Dynamics VP of Business Development, Michael Perry, said that part of our early evaluation process with customers is making sure that we're on the same page for the usage of the robot. So up front, we're very clear with our customers that we don't want the robot being used in a way that can physically harm anybody. So that is something that they said. So that's where we're at right now. And again, that's actual footage from the Massachusetts Police. And it is believed that they are the only police department who has utilized this so far. Other companies have been using these Spot robots and Spot Mini for this early adopter program. And we'll probably be finding out more and more about how they're being used. I know that in oil rigs and things like that, where there's stuff that they can carry around and manipulate environments that could be unsafe for humans, that's where they're kind of aiming for that. But that's what we're hearing about. So again, Boston Dynamics, Spot dogs being used by the Massachusetts Police. We'll probably find out more, but I feel like everybody needed to know about that. All right, continuing on here with some tech news for you before we have another great interview coming up about financial technology. Let's talk about some rockets. Rockets and robots, man, that's what we're talking about right now. So getting to the rockets, excuse me, let's talk about another way to get satellites into orbit. Now, we all know about SpaceX, Blue Origin, all these different companies that are launching satellites up. Well, there's another idea now, and the whole thing is saving cost, right? That's what's most important. That's what allows us to send more and more stuff up there and utilize that technology. Well, there's a company called Leo Aerospace that's developing a system that will loft rockets, but using giant hot air balloons. So they'll take these hot air balloons and they'll attach this rocket to it. And as you can see it right there, so it's named Regulus. That's their launch system. And Regulus will take these rockets up. So there's an example of what it looks like. So that's the rocket strapped to this launch system, strapped to a balloon, up to about 60,000 feet. So almost into space, but not quite. Just high enough to where that balloon can actually still go. And so that's 18,000 meters above Earth's surface. And once it gets up there, then it launches that rocket up, which it requires much less fuel than you need to normally send one up the way that we've been doing it. So they said that their suborbital missions using Regulus, they can send a 10-foot long rocket, which will be able to get 220 pounds, so that to an altitude of 250 miles. So that's plenty enough above the Earth's surface to get into low Earth orbit. We're talking about small satellites, so that's really what they're focusing on for this. A couple of other stats here that they have. So taking a look at how they're doing this. So they said that this entire liftoff system, their entire thing, can fit basically in the back of a semi-truck. So in a semi-truck trailer, which means they can go anywhere and launch these up because it's just a balloon. So you're not actually using anything, any explosives or combustion on that level. It's just inflating a balloon, the rocket floats up, and then they can do it anywhere, and it's a safer way is what they're saying to get that up. You're not restricted to just where the launch pad is. So kind of an interesting use. Again, that's Leo Aerospace. You can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. All right, let's give you one more story here, and then we shall continue on. And we have some more great interviews coming up. So let's talk about this is a video that we're sticking on the space theme. Again, it's rockets and robots. That's what we're talking about. So let's talk about NASA and their Orion spacecraft. Now, this is the one that's going to end up eventually, the spacecraft itself is going to be taking future astronauts from the moon to a vehicle orbiting the planet or in Mars, getting them down and back off the planet's surfaces. So to get that, though, to transport it around, you have this. This is the Super Guppy. So this is NASA's specialized oversized transport plane, and it's trending right now because there's a video, this is the video of it landing in Ohio to get the actual Orion the piece of the Orion that they're working on to a space center up there. And it's looking at it right there, it doesn't make any sense that this should actually be able to fly, but it's been utilized for decades. And the reason it's so big and giant like that is because it is the only aircraft that can fit these giant pieces of space exploration equipment into them. And they've been using it for a long time. It used to transport part of the Saturn V rocket, and it opens up in a weird way, like halfway through, so that you can actually stuff it full of rocket parts, and then close it back up and fly it off. And that's what we're looking at right there. So that is the Super Guppy. Again, anytime that thing flies, it makes a lot of news because it's just so interesting looking. It's still doing this decades later, where it's hauling around parts of our space exploration equipment. So that's what it was right there. So that's talking about that, and you can check that out at digitaltrends.com. All right, let's do this. We're going to take a break. Coming up, we have Dorian Johannick, who's going to be joining us, the co-founder and business director of Silo, and talking about a decentralized platform for secure communication and social financial tech. That's a lot that I just said there. We're going to break that down. We're going to talk about what that means and what their platform is, and all that's coming up, so you can drop in your comments or questions on whatever platform you're on. We'll be back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
This is Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining in. We broadcast live every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, and we'd like to keep you up to date on what's going on in the world of technology. And financial technology is definitely something that is rapidly advancing in different ways that we can socially and privately and securely communicate with each other in that facet. There's a lot to talk about with it. So let's bring our guest on right now. We have Dorian Johannick, who is the co-founder and business director for Silo. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Greg.
Dorian, so I want us to kind of walk through a lot of things. You have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to financial technology and what's going on with that and things that people should know about. But talking about Silo specifically, can you tell us about what this is and what exactly everything does with it?
Yeah, so we've launched a decentralized communications platform. The easiest way to break it down, we refer to it as a smart wallet. So think secure messenger combined with a digital asset wallet. So it brings the best of both worlds, brings communication, converges it with this new emergence we've been seeing the last few years around cryptocurrency and digital assets.
So if somebody signs up, they would, what would that process be like? What would a user experience be like signing up for Silo?
So we're all about, data privacy. So it's a very, very simplistic process. You choose a username, can be your real name, can be an alias, hits register, and you have an account. You're in and you can get rolling.
And so you sign up and then you can send payments through the application itself?
Yes, so it supports a whole range of different digital assets and currencies, and you can send them direct to direct, user to user. A big part of the complexity in this space is dealing with things like private and public keys. What we do is we pin payments to user profiles so you know who you're sending the money to, and you don't have to worry about any of those tricky addresses.
And I know there's the communication aspect too, because we're taking a look at one of the videos here where you're actually communicating back and forth with other users, and it looks like businesses. So that's another interesting aspect. Can you speak to that just a little bit?
Yeah. So obviously something that appeals to professional market as well is the confidentiality and communication. So we released our first generation product about 3 years ago now, which saw a lot of pickup from professional services industries that had a confidentiality mandate. Think, mental health practitioners, lawyers, financial advisors. Professions that had a mandate for confidentiality that they practice very, very stringently offline, but then were jumping online and using tools which were less secure, which housed your data and your communications in third-party locations. So we've had a lot of interest from around the world from those segments, in addition to your sort of direct consumer-based use cases.
And security is such an issue right now. I mean, we see every day it feels like there's more data breaches or your information gets exposed. And looking at it from that aspect, and when we're talking about different applications and in a broader sense, utilizing your knowledge, of the sector, which you've been working on for so long, what are some concerns and things that people should be aware of when they're downloading applications as far as what the privacy policies are of each one of those?
Yeah, I mean, in the end of the day, it's not realistic to tell people to read the privacy policy that, end up being
right.
a very long document in a lot of cases. What you need to do is just be conscious on, when you're using a communication service, you need to just almost assume by default your data and your communications are being captured, they're being housed in a third-party location. So, I don't think it's realistic to say, stop using this mainstream platform that all your friends are on. It's just be aware of the platform you're using and what you're saying, which platform. Be aware that that information essentially is going to persist for your lifetime and your children's lifetime, that can be retrospectively accessed. And when you are having specific communications, be them very personal, very sensitive, business related, do some research and just select the right platform that's designed for that use case.
So really do a little bit of research on that, because you're right, nobody's going to be able to read every privacy policy or even understand what everything's going to be written in there. But yeah, so take a look at that, and that's an interesting way to do it. Talking about, just again, talking about this in general, let's talk about some other issues when it comes to setting payments. Cryptocurrency and different ways, and different companies are trying to come out with that. You have things like Libra, which still hasn't even launched and is encountering a number of different issues. How do you feel about the use of cryptocurrency in general in the marketplace, and where do you see that going and what some of the issues are?
Oh, I mean, without a doubt, from my perspective, it is the future. I mean, when you think about money already, money is digital. And in most cases, we're interacting with it primarily in the digital space. The concept of cash is very, very quickly moving on. So I think it's the future. It's here to stay. There's obviously complications around kind of the ease of flow, which concerns regulatory authorities. I think projects like the Libra project are actually very, very beneficial for the industry as a whole and for companies like us, because what they're doing is throwing this out in the regulator's face, being taken seriously, and starting that process of regulators in different governments around the world getting comfortable with the concept of digital currencies and figuring out, hey, how can we understand these and how can we make it work? Obviously, we've had some initial pushback against these, but it's a natural process. First needs to come understanding of these technologies. Second is how can they be integrated into the traditional system, and then how can we chart from our legacy financial system through to the future that works on both ends, from what the consumers want, what the innovations can enable, and the parameters that the regulators want to put on them.
What are some of the other complications that are happening right now, or growing pains, even if you want to categorize it as that? Because I know this is something that, like you said, it's the future, and I can definitely see that. But there's certainly some growing pains and some adoption issues. What are some of the things and concerns that people have when it comes to cryptocurrency?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the biggest growth issues for companies like ourselves actually is a lack of regulatory clarity. So since we've launched our product in the app stores a couple of months ago, we've been adopted across more than 40 countries, but it's really, really difficult because there isn't clear regulatory framework across all of those countries yet. So you end up having to be very, very cautious, engaging a lot of legal support in almost every jurisdiction you're moving into on that side, which makes things hard. So as this process moves through, it's actually going to be easier to kind of internationalize and grow as a company harnessing these technologies. Another key piece on the consumer side for adoption is just straight usability. If you're familiar with other applications in the crypto or blockchain space, usability is a real issue. We've got cool technologies, But in order for them to be adopted by wider segments and more mainstream, they really need to stack up side by side with these, these mainstream centralized applications and messengers and financial products that people are used to. And that's something we've really been focusing on. It's the user experience, kind of letting people use these technologies in a way where they almost don't need to know that they're dealing with digital assets, or they're dealing with blockchain, or they're dealing with decentralized technologies. It's an experience that provides all the benefits without the complexities. And that's what we're going to need. We're going to need to see products that are stacking up next to these mainstream popular applications, start pushing the ticker to more mainstream adoption.
That's a really great observation. Yeah, just talking about it, how it's got to be something that you don't even know that you're doing it. You just know the app works. It works just like everything else that you're used to, so it's easy to use, and nobody has to understand blockchain in the background if they don't want to, and just go that way. Well, talking about Silo, just to give everybody another idea here of where to get it. What's the way to start out? I know we talked on it briefly just at the beginning, but to give everybody a recap too of if they want to get involved with it, what do they do?
Just search SYLO on the App Store. We've got two products there. We've got a legacy product, which is our professional focus messenger, and then the new product, which we call the Smart Wallet, which we've just released. We're seeing some really positive growth in at the moment, which is great to see. So yeah, just throw SYLO in whatever search engine you're looking at, and you'll find us.
All right, well, Dorian, thank you so much for joining us. A really fascinating discussion, interesting to see where it's going. Congrats on the success, and looking forward to seeing more cryptocurrency adoption and what Silo can do. Thanks for being here on Digital Trends Live.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, so like I said, we'd like to keep you up to date on technology. And so we've covered a lot of different things here on the show today, but we have more coming up. So joining us here in just a minute, we're going to be talking to Maya Schweder about Amazon, and this is an announcement that came out today. It's Black Friday coming up, Cyber Monday. Amazon's certainly getting involved in a lot of different sectors of the economy and different ways that it's incorporating itself. And we're going to be talking about a number of groups actually, that joined together today for something called Athena. We're going to walk through what that is, and it's kind of a pushback on some of what Amazon is doing. So she's going to bring us up to date on that story as it's just been breaking out today. So all that's coming up. So stick around, back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
And welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining us. We're live here every single weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, keeping you up to date on what's going on in the world of technology and stories that we think you need to know about. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. So there's a report coming out today. This was originally in the New York Times, but also other reports talking about safety in Amazon warehouses and some of the pushback against this. There's a lot to unravel here. To help us do that, we have Maya Schweder joining us right now, who's been on top of this story. Maya, thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. Happy to be here.
So walk us through what is going on here with this Amazon story and all these different stories that are coming out right now.
Right. So there's two separate but related incidents that have basically come to light today. One was this report that you mentioned that was put forward by a group called Economic Roundtable, which is based in Southern California. And this was kind of a wrap up of the effect that Amazon has had on these communities specifically in Southern California. I think specifically 2 communities, one of which was San Bernardino. The other one's failing me right now. But it is a look at, okay, Amazon says that they're going to come into these communities, they're going to provide jobs, they're going to boost the local economy, and everything's going to be great. And this report basically negates all of that. Not only is it incredibly detrimental to the environment around these communities when they're building these warehouses, but the people who end up working in these warehouses, a lot of them end up still being on public assistance despite the wages that they have. A lot of them are homeless. There was a strong trend of homelessness or insufficient housing of the people who are working there. And there's just this intense, demanding corporate culture, they say, that benefits those at the top, but not the workers who are doing literal heavy lifting of the boxes in these warehouses. So there was that. And then at the same time, there's this new group that has launched today that's a coalition of more than 30 worker and immigrant-oriented grassroots groups that are trying to, they say, hold Amazon to account for a lot of these environmental and worker abuses.
And that's, we've been hearing stories of this for a long time about how Amazon warehouse workers, whether there's injuries that are happening that are more frequent. I did see one study that was like twice as likely that an Amazon warehouse worker was going to have an OSHA level injury versus other, similar industries. And a lot to digest with that alone. But the wages, that's certainly a huge issue. And it kind of goes against what they're saying publicly, marketing wise. That's certainly not what they're going to advertise, that, oh, yeah, we pay low. But looking at this now with all of these reports coming out, do you think is there any reports on what Amazon is replying to this? Have they made a statement yet? I don't know if they put anything out or not.
Amazon so far has not responded to the statement yet. And of course, the big question, we're facing down Black Friday at the end of this week. It's the biggest shopping day of the year. We're facing down the biggest shopping season of the year. Americans love ease of consumerism. So despite all of these concerns that have been coming to light, I think even just yesterday there was a new, very in-depth investigative report about what workers in Amazon warehouses have suffered. But despite this, the New York Times in this article is projecting that Amazon sales are going to be somewhere around $238 billion. Last year on Black Friday alone, Americans spent $7.9 billion on Amazon. Oh, excuse me, not Black Friday, on Cyber Monday. They spent $7.9 billion. That's according to Bloomberg. So what effect is this actually going to have? That's the big question that we're trying to answer right now is, will Americans care?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, one-day shipping has a lot of power over a lot of people. And when it comes to all those sales, yeah, it's hard to deny some of their influence on that. I mean, there's certainly a lot that would be good to see changed, how much taxes they're paying and how much of all those different kinds of issues that come up with this. So maybe this will have an effect on some bigger scope issues. But yeah, whether people are not going to shop on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, I don't think it's going to have an effect personally.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen at all. I mean, if for no other reason than people are disorganized and they like cheap things, and Amazon fulfills both of those. If you need a last minute present, it'll be there in a couple of hours.
Right.
These Amazon services. But yeah, to your point, this is going to at least shine more of a spotlight on how Amazon functions. There have been multiple reports about how it paid 0 federal income tax for an $11 billion profit last year. Meanwhile, a lot of these warehouse workers are paying federal income tax, and yet the company they work for is not benefiting them at all. In fact, it's been incredibly detrimental to their health. So whether this moves forward in a productive way remains to be seen. Again, it's just sort of day one of this new initiative that these people are launching. But we're reaching out, and we're gonna figure out what their goals are, what they're hoping to accomplish, what time frame they're hoping to accomplish it in, and whether or not they think they can get Americans to care.
Well, it'll be definitely interesting to follow along with it, especially over these next, few weeks with just the holiday rush and this going at the same time. And I know that you'll be keeping us up to date on it. We've got coverage at digitaltrends.com. And Maya, I want to say thank you very much for filling us in on this story. I know this is breaking news, so it's nice to have somebody to help us digest that and understand what's going on. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, again, that's Maya Schrader here on Digital Trends Live, and we have covered a lot of technology today. So we've talked about a lot of different topics that are going on, and that's what we do here. Every single day, we bring you trending technology news, we bring you interviews, we bring you discussions, we talk about what's happening and how it can affect your life, and we've certainly covered a lot of ground on today's show, and we're here every single weekday. So tomorrow on Digital Trends Live, senior editor Caleb Dennison will run us through Samsung's TV lineup from the Q90R, a TV designed for gaming and movie buffs alike, the Samsung Frame, which doubles as artwork on the wall, and a Samsung QLED TV, the Q900, which is their 8K flagship screen. And as we continue on, we're taking a look at a lot of different products that are coming out. So in preparation for all your Black Friday and Cyber Monday shopping, we'll run through the Digital Trends Holiday Gift Guide, where we found the perfect tech gifts for your loved ones. And how much money is everyone going to spend? Well, we'll be joined by Colin Morris of Adobe Analytics, who will break down the predicted forecast of over $140 billion in holiday spending and the growing trend of BOPUS. Are you a BOPUS shopper? You'll have to tune in tomorrow to find out that. But no, we're going to be talking about the growing trend of buying online and picking up in store. BOPUS is what they're trying to make happen. All that and the breaking technology news of the day. You can join us wherever you consume content at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern for another episode of Digital Trends Live. So please subscribe, comment, and share for Digital Trends. I'm Greg Nibbler, and I'll see you all back here tomorrow.